Many gardeners have seen it happen. A row of tomatoes begins to wilt. Lettuce turns bitter. Berry plants stop producing. Week after week, the summer heat seems to take more from the garden than it gives. Then something surprising appears nearby. While many popular crops struggle, a few forgotten fruits continue growing as if nothing happened. Some keep flowering. Some keep producing fruit. A few even seem to perform better during extreme heat than during mild weather. That sounds backward at first. Most people assume every plant suffers when temperatures become intense. Yet certain fruits were shaped by climates where heat was never the exception. It was normal life. After years of observing gardens in hot regions, one pattern appears again and again. The plants that struggle the least are often the ones that evolved in the toughest environments. If your garden seems to fail every summer, you're not doing anything wrong. Many gardeners simply grow plants that were designed for very different conditions. Today we're looking at 10 forgotten fruits that continue thriving when temperatures climb above 120 degrees Fahrenheit. One of them may already be well suited to your climate without you realizing it. Before explaining why this happens, it helps to understand where these plants came from. Not all plants evolved under the same sky. Some developed in cool mountain regions. Others adapted to areas with regular rainfall. But a few spent thousands of years surviving long dry seasons, blazing sunlight, and intense heat. Because of that history, extreme temperatures do not automatically signal danger to them. In fact, many of these fruits have built-in strategies that help them handle conditions that would stress other plants. This is one reason gardeners sometimes become frustrated. They may choose crops that perform wonderfully in cooler climates, then wonder why those same plants struggle during hot summers. The problem is often not the gardener. The problem is simply a mismatch between the plant and the environment. When a fruit evolved in a desert region or a dry tropical climate, it may respond very differently to heat than a plant that evolved in cooler conditions. Understanding that difference changes how we view summer gardening. Instead of fighting the heat, we can learn from plants that already know how to live with it. One of the oldest examples is the date palm. Date palms have survived in some of the hottest inhabited regions on Earth for thousands of years. These remarkable trees developed deep root systems that search for moisture far below the soil surface. While many garden plants depend heavily on frequent watering near the top of the soil, date palms are designed to look deeper. Their leaves also help reduce water loss. This allows them to continue functioning during periods that would stress many other fruiting plants. For generations, communities living in desert climates relied on date palms as dependable food sources. Even during difficult seasons, these trees often continued producing. There is a quiet lesson in that reliability. Plants that evolved under harsh conditions tend to spend less energy fighting the environment and more energy working with it. That same principle appears again in another fruit that is often overlooked. The pomegranate is sometimes treated as a decorative plant, but it deserves much more attention. In hot and dry climates, pomegranates can be remarkably productive. Their natural adaptations allow them to tolerate heat that would damage many other fruit crops. Yet many gardeners give up on them too early. Sometimes they expect rapid growth. Sometimes they assume every sign of stress requires immediate correction. In reality, pomegranates often prefer a little patience. One interesting observation is that excessive watering can sometimes reduce fruit quality. When conditions stay too wet, the plant may focus more on leafy growth than fruit development. This does not mean withholding water entirely. It simply means understanding that pomegranates evolved in environments where moisture was not always abundant. A little restraint often works better than constant intervention. That idea leads to a surprising discovery many experienced growers eventually make. Some heat-loving fruits suffer more from overcare than from heat itself. At first this seems strange. We naturally want to help struggling plants. We water more. We fertilize more. We check them every day. But certain fruits are adapted to difficult conditions. When we constantly try to improve those conditions, we may accidentally disrupt what the plant already knows how to handle. Experienced growers often notice this pattern. A fruit receives moderate care and performs well. Another receives constant attention and struggles. The difference is not effort. The difference is understanding what the plant expects from its environment. This becomes even more interesting when we look at several tropical fruits that handle heat far better than many people realize. Dragon fruit is one example. Its thick stems store moisture, helping it tolerate dry conditions. Although it appreciates water during active growth, it can often handle periods of intense heat surprisingly well. Then there is jujube, sometimes called one of the toughest fruit trees available. Jujube trees tolerate heat, drought, and poor conditions that would challenge many other fruit crops. Once established, they often require less attention than gardeners expect. Figs offer another fascinating example. Their broad root systems help them search for available moisture. Mature fig trees often continue producing fruit during hot summers when nearby crops struggle. Each of these fruits uses a slightly different strategy. Dragon fruit stores water. Jujube tolerates hardship. Figs search widely for resources. Different approaches, but a similar outcome. They keep going when temperatures rise. At this point, it helps to discuss one of the most common misunderstandings in hot weather gardening. Many gardeners assume every wilted leaf means the plant needs more water. Sometimes that is true. Sometimes it is not. During extreme heat, plants may temporarily wilt as a protective response. Later, as temperatures moderate, they recover naturally. This is why daily shallow watering can create problems. When moisture stays near the surface, roots often remain shallow as well. Shallow roots become more vulnerable when temperatures increase. Deeper, less frequent watering often encourages roots to explore further into the soil. Over time, this can improve resilience. Of course, every plant and climate is different. Observation remains important. The key is avoiding the assumption that more water is always the answer. Sometimes patience provides better information than immediate action. Climate differences matter too. When people hear that a fruit survives 120-degree temperatures, they sometimes assume it will perform identically everywhere. That is not always the case. Dry heat and humid heat create very different challenges. In dry climates, plants often lose moisture quickly but may experience fewer disease issues. In humid climates, moisture remains in the air, which can reduce water stress but increase disease pressure. A fruit that thrives in a desert environment may behave differently in a humid region, even if temperatures are similar. This is why understanding your local conditions is so valuable.